Hello and welcome to another episode of Weapons and Warfare from Straight Arrow News. I'm your host, Ryan Robertson, and today we are coming to you from Lockheed Martin's final assembly and checkout facility for the F-35. And folks, this facility is incredible. Every 3 days, a new jet comes off of this line and heads to the next part of its journey before eventually being handed over to its new owner. So today we're going to get an up-close look at the world's premier fighter aircraft, and we get to talk to some of the people responsible for getting it from the assembly line to the flight line. Despite its status as the premier fighter jet in the world, the F-35 is already steeped in history, starting with its name. Dubbed the Lightning II in honor of the Lockheed P-38 Lightning, a twin piston-engined fighter flown by the Army Air Corps in World War II. Nearly 50 years later, the F-35 would eventually emerge from a Joint Strike Fighter program that sought to replace the F-16, the F-A-18, the A-10, the F-117, and the Harrier. To do that, engineers came up with 3 versions of the same jet, all employing stealth technology. For the Air Force, that's the F-35A, capable of conventional takeoffs and landings. For the Marine Corps, it's the F-35B, designed for short takeoffs and vertical landings on amphibious assault ships. For the Navy, it's the F-35C, built for carrier-based operations. In 1997, Lockheed Martin and Boeing were selected for the concept demonstration phase over efforts from McDonnell Douglas and Northrop Grumman. Originally called the X-35, the Lightning went up against Boeing's X-32. By October 2001, the DoD had seen enough. Lockheed Martin and its X-35 were awarded a system development and demonstration contract. A little less than 5 years later, the first F-35A rolled off the Fort Worth assembly line. A side-by-side comparison of the F-35 to its closest cousins, the fourth-generation F-16 and the F-A-18, reveals some interesting details. It's actually slower than its Air Force predecessor. It has more range than the F-16, but less than the F-A-18, and it can climb as high as the F-A-18, which is also a little higher than the F-16. But here's why the F-35 is flying in a class all its own. It's armed with a superior suite of sensors, and when combined with 6 onboard cameras, the pilot gets a much bigger, more detailed picture of the battle space. Most importantly, though, it employs stealth technology, not only in exterior design, but all weapons and fuel tanks are internal, reducing its radar signal so much that it's essentially a ghost to opposition forces. With 3 versions required to fit each branch's specific needs, it would take nearly a decade of testing before the Marine Corps took delivery of its first F-35B. A little more than a year later, the Air Force would get the keys to its initial F-35A, and in February of 2019, the Navy received its first F-35C.
When I got here in 2016, the F-35 program only took up about half the plant, and it really shows the growth that we've been able to develop as we've taken up the entire facility and are really at that full rate production of about 156 airplanes a year.
Retired naval aviator Edward Stevie Smith is Lockheed Martin's Director of F-35 Domestic Business Development and Customer Engagements.
The plant is operating more than 150 airplanes a year right now to deliver to our 18 different customers and counting. We've got new captures going on all the time, and our government is in negotiations with countries, both in Europe and the Indo-Pacific theater, for delivering this world-class capability to them.
To the uninitiated, the sheer size and scale of the production facility can be daunting. And that's just what you can see, because behind the scenes there is a global network of more than 1,900 commercial partners playing a role in every jet rolling off the assembly line. With suppliers from 48 states and 10 countries, the assembly of every F-35 is truly a global effort.
It's pretty complicated. We've got a world-class supply chain, not only with us, but our partners. So BAE and Northrop Grumman are our key partners on this, as well as Pratt & Whitney, who provides our power plant. They all deal with their supplier bases. So, almost 1,800 of those suppliers are located here in the United States and our territories. And then the rest are with key partners around the world, taking advantage of their expertise in the aviation industry to provide those parts. And not only do those, 1,800 plus suppliers deliver every day, but we're constantly bringing on new suppliers that move off the program. So it is a full-time job managing that.
All of that adds up to about 156 new jets rolling off the line every year. But it's not been without issues. In May, the Government Accountability Office revealed the Fort Worth facility was running out of space to park F-35s. Jets the government would not take delivery of until a hardware and software upgrade known as the Technology Refresh 3, or TR3, could be installed. The upgrade includes improved displays, better computer memory, and more processing power. TR3 was originally scheduled to begin installation in April 2023, but software problems and difficulties integrating it with the new hardware meant parking new aircraft and waiting for testing. Compounding the issue was the scheduled Block 4 upgrade that will expand the jet's weapon carrying capacity and enhance its electronic warfare capabilities. But that can't happen without TR3. But in July, things changed. After the F-35 Joint Program Office determined operational units could safely fly with a truncated version of TR3, deliveries were resumed with what the Air Force calls a phased approach, with a final goal of delivering F-35s with full TR3 combat capabilities in 2025. An Alabama Air National Guard unit and Nellis Air Force Base were the first recipients. In a release announcing the resumption of deliveries, Lieutenant General Mike Schmidt said, "Our focus has been on providing our customers with aircraft that are stable, capable, and maintainable, and this phased approach does just that." But before that happens, each new F-35 is put through rigorous testing. That responsibility belongs to a group of Lockheed Martin test pilots. If the Air Force and Navy's Fighter Weapons School, aka Top Gun, represent the top 1% of all aviators, these pilots are better than that. Pilots like Scott McLaren, callsign Shark, a retired Air Force F-16 pilot who now puts the world's most advanced fighter aircraft through its paces.
A lot of the times the best way for me to describe it is we all like to go to the amusement park and we all like to ride roller coasters. Well, yeah, I get to do that for my job, right?
McLaren says one of the big advantages the F-35 offers is it builds off what an experienced pilot already knows.
Now you have a capability, an airplane that can do those same missions, but you have an airplane that can do those same missions and more. And oh, by the way, it's the pilot that has that same training and level that went into the F-16, put him into this airplane that has more capabilities. Well, now they're able to perform up here. And now we're just talking from a different level altogether.
In October of 2023, we visited with one of Shark's colleagues, retired naval aviator Tony Brick Wilson, who's also an advocate of the F-35.
The F-35 is much more than just a fighter, okay? It's also a fantastic ISR platform, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, because it does have the capability to absorb all this information in and then push it back out. So when we talk about things like 21st century security, you can think about the F-35 being an airborne data node.
And it's what the Lightning does with that data that both pilots say gives anyone in the cockpit the upper hand on any potential mission. Because in the 21st century, data is the difference between success and splashdown. When a pilot is flying into a potentially hostile environment, having that information is as important as the munitions they're carrying.
All the information that comes in now goes through our sensor fusion. And sensor fusion, if you want to think about it as an app on a phone, is exactly what it does. It takes the information in, processes the information, displays it to me on my displays in a usable format. So now I'm able to use it's very similar type in name of all the capabilities or the sensors that were on a previous generation of an airplane. But now, because sensor fusion is processing that information for me, now I can use that and make decisions even faster. It also opens the door for more missions that I can accomplish inside that airplane.
A single F-35 is a formidable foe for any opposition, but Wilson says the true air superiority comes from 2 or more F-35s entering the battle space together, linked through a multifunction advanced data link, or MADL for short.
I can't really talk too much about the capabilities that MADL brings because it's classified. Okay, but what I can tell you is that if an F-30, I've got a single F-35 airborne, it has a certain level of capability. As soon as I add a second F-35 airborne and they're linked via MADL, it's a matter of 1 + 1 is greater than 2 because of the enhanced capability.
Further enhancing that capability is a piece of equipment that has seen a remarkable evolution of its own over the last 2 decades: the helmet. For years, pilot helmets essentially provided 3 things: protection, communication, and a hookup for an oxygen mask. Think Maverick and Top Gun.
Okay, buddy, what's on your mind?
But as technology evolves, so too does the helmet. And there's no better example of that than the carbon fiber Gentex shell fitted with the Collins Aerospace helmet-mounted display system. It's a first-of-its-kind technology with a $400,000 price tag. The heads-up display, or HUD, is now built into the helmet rather than affixed to the cockpit. Also built in, night vision and visual targeting, which means the pilot can track a target simply by looking at it.
I know that now my imagery, everything that's going to come out of these oculars, these projectors up at the top, are going to be reflected off of my visor and come right back into my eyes. Now I have that information that's very usable and from the outside world, very usable on the inside of the cockpit. But that's not just it. So now I have all the other sensors, my radar, et cetera, and everything coming in. I have it on my display out in front. But when I want to translate it from this 2-dimensional display into the real world, it's done automatically for me through Fusion. And now I just move my helmet around and I can see from what's on my 2-dimensional display, I can see it translated into the real world based on where I move my helmet.
Another of the many interesting features of the helmet is the ability to look through your lap and the fuselage, creating essentially a glass cockpit. It's not X-ray vision, but it's still wicked awesome. An array of 6 cameras stitches together everything that's visible outside of the aircraft. So it's like an augmented reality, essentially a glass cockpit.
Very much augmented, yes, because I can see with my eyes and I can see everything of the outside world around me, but I have the addition of the tactical type information, the imagery, whatever I want to have up here, overlaid on top of it. So giving me that extra piece of information that I just didn't have from my own eyes or from the sensors themselves. This one pieces it all together.
If this all sounds like something straight from science fiction to you, you're not alone in thinking that.
If you had asked me or told me when I first started flying about this helmet, I'd have been like, this is something out of Star Wars, dude. This is not, I'm never going to see it in my lifetime. And now it's here, right? And we're only getting better with our helmet technology. So, the capability I see today, I can only imagine and get excited about, what's in the future with this helmet.
Well, the pilots here at Lockheed Martin might be some of the best trained in the world. Before any new pilot takes the stick of an F-35, they need a little bit more training on how to do that. And that process starts with simulators that are an awful lot like this cockpit demonstrator. Now, I've never flown a plane in my life, but I'm about to take off from an aircraft carrier. All right, stunt, we ready? Yep. And I'm airborne, flying over Hawaii. Let's go find some bogeys. It's a setup any gamer or private pilot would love to experience. While it's not a one-to-one example of what an F-35 pilot has access to, it's as close as any civvy like me is ever gonna get. Hey, we're flying over us. If your flight sim skills are mid, the demonstrator might be a little intimidating, even if it never leaves the ground. Fortunately for me, I had some expert assistance to make sure my pilot skills were on point. All right, so we're here with Jason Craig, call sign Stunt,
Yes.
who's going to teach us a little bit about this F-35 simulator. So I'm sitting in it. What am I looking at?
All right, so the one thing you'll notice the difference between the F-35 cockpit and a lot of the older fourth generation fighters is a lot cleaner. There's a lot less switches, there's a lot less gauges in this cockpit.
There's like touch screens in front of me too.
And so, yep, you got the large panoramic display, we call it, in front of you, with 4 main portals that you can resize and move around to whatever fits your mission at the time. All right, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll take it off a freeze here. So to start rolling, yeah, just push the throttle all the way forward to full afterburner. There's 100 knots, wait for 150. There it is, pull back on the stick. There you go, and you can set about 15 degrees nose up, and we're airborne. What we want to bring up for engaging air targets is our tactical situation display. See on your weapon display here, the weapon flash, and off it goes. So now it's heading towards that target. To get the other one, the target management switch, bump it to the right. Now we select the other target, red button one more time. So the weapon bay doors are opening, the rocket motor lights, the missile fires, weapon bay doors close, and that's all there is to it. So now the missiles go up high because the air is thinner. They can go further and faster, and they'll go out and then come down on the target from the top. As you can see here, missiles are heading out.
Did he fire one at me?
He did, and it missed.
Jerk.
And there's the impact, so you can see the wreckage falling down there. And the other wingman, I think, went over the top. Oh, there he is, right there. So there's the 2 enemy contacts right there.
Splash 1.
Splash 2.
Our time at Lockheed Martin's Fort Worth facility was not infinite. We definitely kept a pretty tight schedule. So I only got to splash 2 bogeys, but that is an accomplishment I stand behind. Kidding aside, when you see the magnitude of the operation up close, talk to the proud and dedicated people building the planes, and learn crazy facts like there's 16 some odd miles of wiring just in the nose of one of these things, you can really appreciate just how effective the F-35 platform truly is in the hands of the right operators. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Weapons in Warfare. But before we go, I want to give a quick shout out to all the people at Lockheed Martin that helped make this visit possible. They're too humble for me to name them, but I just want to say thank you to all of you. We know this doesn't happen every day, and the access that you are able to give us helps us tell your story to our audience. So thank you. For senior producer Brett Baker, video editor Brian Spencer, and graphic designer Dakota Patillo, I'm Ryan Robertson with Straight Arrow News, signing off.
Serving you clarity through context, our mission at SAN is to deliver the news straight down the middle. We're different from mainstream media because we spotlight distorted headlines and show you how to do it too. Discover stories that right and left-leaning outlets are choosing not to cover by using our Media Mist tool. Download the SAN app and turn on notifications to have straight facts delivered right to your phone or tablet, and get straight facts anytime at SAN.com.